I am so excited to welcome you, Viktoriia, to our Leaders Who Care series. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark. I'm happy to finally participate. I know that we rescheduled a couple of times, but we did it. We are making it actually, and I'm very excited.
We're making history here. All right, let's do it. So, and this is like a special Ukrainian connection here. So this is the special Ukrainian episode for the rest of the world out there to see. So, best way to start, Viktoriia, would be if you could introduce yourself, not about the business or any of that thing, but who's Viktoriia? You know, where you're from originally, where you are now. You know, family, favorite color, maybe something you've never told anybody in the world and you want to reveal it now, stuff like that.
You want some insights?
Yeah.
It was the first question. I'm going to warm me up a little bit. Yeah, so my name is Viktoriia Savitska. I am based in Geneva in Switzerland, but I'm originally Ukrainian. You know, I grew up in very loving family, being very calm kid, always like, you know, I'm the youngest among grandchildren, so I was the favorite. I'm very humble, as you can see.
Yeah, well, I was the favorite, sure, good.
I always like studied very good, so I got all like possible incentives and benefits out of that. Loved reading, was very like home flower until I moved to Switzerland. I came here to study, and that's when I had to figure it out by myself, learning how what works. I mean, when I moved to Zurich, we didn't know much people there. So, and my level of German was like super poor. And I had to study language. I had to study how to deal with everything, with all bureaucracy, university, lots of new people. That was an interesting time, and here I am, more than 10 years after, based in this country, being totally settled. You know, I live in Geneva now, and everybody's saying that, oh, there's such a boring city, there's nothing to do. What are you doing? How are you spending your free time? I'm like, how are you spending your free time? We all we all do same stuff. It doesn't matter where you are. We
Right.
have this family, outdoors, indoors, reading book, working, going to gym, socializing, and yeah, that's very brief about me as a non-professional. It's very hard to talk about myself without work, to be honest.
Well, let me ask you for first of all, so do you speak German now?
Yes, I studied law in German.
Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty bold.
I know Achtung bitte pretty well because I remember being in Berlin at the convention center once, and every announcement is Achtung bitte all the time and stuff like that. So, but let's go back for a minute. When you were a kid or a teenager, what were you like? You talked about you were the youngest, you know, and all that. What did you do as a kid? What things interested you?
You know, I was super organized. I was like, you know, my mom always raised me in a way that first you need to do what you have to do, and then go play, do whatever you want. And the only obligation I had is to study good, like you talk about high marks and so on and so on. So I would come home from school and have lunch and then do my homework immediately. So then in the evening, when I would call my friends, like, oh, let's go out, and I'm doing my homework. How come? Like, what you were doing the whole day? Because I'm done with everything.
Right.
Yeah, so I was very organized kid. But yeah, I loved reading, and I was reading everything possible that I could find at home. Once my mom found me with the, you know, like this kind of romance not a book for 10 years old, so not really understanding much what was written, but when my mother saw me with it, she was like, oh my God, what are you reading? So, and I really loved reading. On summer, I would go to library and take books. And once I came to library and took a bunch of books, and the lady was like, oh, my dear, there's like so many. We can give you only for 2 weeks. Like, you will never be able to read all that in 2 weeks. I got so unhappy that actually the first book I returned next day. Yes, it was like 2 minutes before the library was closing, but like, what do you mean I cannot? So as you see, I was very competitive child as well. And
So
yes,
so the librarian basically challenged you in a way to read the book.
yes,
Yeah.
after that, I could take as many books as I wanted.
That's interesting because,
As you can imagine.
yeah, it's interesting because I find, that's why I asked this question. I find that there's always a thread of some kind as a kid of things that happen to people that you may not notice it at the time. Most time you don't necessarily notice at the time, that affects you later or gives you confidence later or whatever it might do later to do that. And normally the librarian would think, oh, this kid can't, there's no way they can read all these books and etc. So good for you for showing her. Nice.
That was a mission.
She was probably, I would hope that she was pleasantly surprised, but so I can see how this can move into your education. So you said, I mean, you studied law, correct me if I'm wrong, you studied law both in Kiev, I believe, and Zurich, right?
Yes.
And then you got your bachelor's and your MBA in international relations, but that was a change for you, right? Like what intrigued you down that path, both of those paths?
So I was supposed to be a corporate lawyer and had very planned, in a way, future.
Well, I can interrupt for you for a second. You said you were supposed to be. Who supposed you to be?
I mean, and usually it happens, parents influence, and my father, he was like, this is for you, that's for sure for you, and I want my corporate lawyer at home. So, and I was like, actually, I did like, I always had this need to fight for what is fair and unfair. So until today, actually, if I see that something is unfair, I have a lot of emotions and try to, always protect and be on the side of fair. And yeah, so I was studying law and it was going well until I became quite boring. And I did like I did like a criminal law, for example, or human rights. I did love criminal law, but the idea of running around, looking behind the shoulder because there might be someone chasing you in the dark corner, was very, very attractive, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not funny actually, but it's real life, right?
Yes, yes, and then I opened for myself the world of human rights, and somehow it all was coming together. Like, oh, but what else could I do? What could I do actually for the world to make somebody's life a little bit better? And that's how I saw, and I started to think, to research what maybe I need to change something. What should I do? And I found, yes, I found actually another university where I shifted there to study international relations and diplomacy. And the idea was to save the world.
How's that going?
In process.
Yeah, I know.
Still in process, yes. And being a student, I had the opportunity to work with human rights, work with several NGOs. And I also love traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And when I was a student, I had a trip to Madagascar, but I I haven't seen this beautiful Madagascar from a cartoon. I saw a bit different life, which I didn't expect, to be honest. I think it was one of the most impactful trips in my life.
Hmm.
And I visited an island, like which is island in an island inside the island. And there was a fisherman village, and there was a girl. She was maybe like 12 or 13 years old, and she heard us speaking like French, English, and she could speak only Malagasy. And she told the person who was with me, she's like, oh, I hear you speak French and you speak English. I also want to learn French and go to Antananarivo and study in university and study medicine. I want to become a doctor so I can come here and help my grandparents and my village and so on. And the guy who was with me was like my tour guide through the island. He was quite an old man, and I saw tears in his eyes when he was talking to her. And then he translated to me, and I understood why, because the chance that that girl would have an opportunity to do this
Right.
was.
Yeah.
And that's when I understood, okay, what can we do about this? Okay, I learned how to talk nicely and give great speeches about, let's say, the world and equality for everyone. But how to actually make it, real, how to organize this. And then when I decided to do an MBA, so to learn the tools, basically. And now, I can say that like this legal background plus international relations and MBA is like this perfect triangle to pull projects that are, because, if I go a bit further, at some point I realized that, okay, we also need to earn some money to be able to save the world.
You do.
It's not working without another. So, and I think that my academic background, that's what allows me to see at the project from different dimensions, and being able to really organize it in a proper way.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and those stories are always so emotional. Where what she said, that how better can you get than that? Is I want to get educated to come back and help my grandparents and my village. And there's an expression about how many Einsteins are in all these young people that never get a chance to maybe be Einstein or anybody. That's just one example. And you're right, and it's hard. When we formed our firm, Fifth Element, it was formed on the basis of leaders and their organizations and their businesses can always do better financially and economically when they're doing good at the same time. Because you're right, you also have to make money to be able to save the world, but you have to have the tools to save the world. But obviously, early on, you understood that pretty clearly more than some people would. And you just mentioned that experience is one that impacted you a lot. I mean, you've had a lot of experiences from what I see in human rights to communications to conflict and peacemaking, which we're also involved in, renewable energy. There's so many things. Is there another example of something like that impacted you more that you remember?
I think, the first, already, if we talk about a professional experience, as the first time when I felt how it's to touch human lives it sounds a bit cheesy and a bit maybe
No.
too loud, but I was working with this NGO in Zanzibar. And now when I tell like, yes, I was working with NGO in Zanzibar, and people are like, oh, please, like Zanzibar, it's such a paradise. What problems they have, boy. NGO where I was working, they provide medical assistance to people. So basically, they do a lot of medical camps. So the group of doctors, like 20, 30 doctors, go to remote area, and people from surrounding villages, they can come and actually have a doctor checkup, because for many, it's the only opportunity to see a doctor. Because the problem on the island is that government hospitals, as they function, only like there's no appointment basis. Like for example, in Europe, in US, you need to come, you need to line up for half a day, I don't know how long. Sometimes you line up only to get appointment, and then you need to come back for your appointment. And for many people who like work on a daily income, it's, for example, a fisherman, he will never go to hospital if on the scale is like, will I go fish today, get money for my family and like food on the table, or I go to a doctor because I have like minor, I don't know, headache. No one will do that, never. So they do go to hospital when it's already quite urgent situation. An organization where I worked, they did these mobile camps where the doctors would go to patients basically. And first time when I saw 800 people lining up, when outside is like plus 40 degrees, it's August, it's hot like hell.
Oh yeah, no.
But they are there because that's the only opportunity. And then we were working on a project of hospital actually that would provide medical care to those who disadvantaged, and being appointment oriented. So the idea is that some doctors could rent the rooms to see patients there. So like this hospital would generate income, and through that, from that generated income, they could provide some medical assistance to those who cannot pay for healthcare. And the whole system is actually very fascinated. And I was developing that project from initial stage and thinking, doing my research, talking to people on the ground, to patients, to doctors, and understanding what impact it will have on community. Sorry. That was that was my first like a professional excitement.
No, that's amazing. How did well, a couple of quick things. How did you even get into these scenarios in Madagascar and here and there and whatnot? And how has it affected your own personal vision of what you want to do and what you're doing now? We'll get into in a minute what you're doing now, but how does it affect how you feel, how you're looking for ahead, and how did you even get into them?
Things like Madagascar happened because that was for private traveling. I love traveling, but like, yes, I love to go to a place to do sightseeing, like 1, 2, 3, 5, what we have to see, of course. But I also like to see something different, a little bit more, a little bit beyond the scene, like above what is average. And the trip to Madagascar happened because, I don't know, that was such a period of life. I wanted to see different world, and
Awesome.
and I actually saw it.
No kidding. I mean, but that's, experiences are in whatever form, whether it's personal or business. We concentrate a lot on what experiences have you had and seen that affect your business, affect your personal life, affect everything. And so, more than responsibilities at work or more than, chores or whatever, it's actual experiences, good and bad. That's why I'm fascinated with, how you even got into some of those opportunities. And and you need money to do some of this stuff too. So you got to balance it.
Yes, I mean, I must say that, yes, I was lucky to have these opportunities in life, to have education, to being able to learn languages, to be able to travel and get these experiences, absolutely.
Et
Yes.
tu parles français aussi?
Oui, bien sûr.
Oh, moi, je parle le français québécois, pas le français de France. So that's my Montreal slang French and whatnot that the people in France don't think is the best French.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries. I think my French is more Swiss French now, because they do speak a little bit different as well.
I know. I want to ask you a little side question, then get into what you're doing now. As a woman, and things have changed dramatically, but there's still not equal voice, and there's still issues in some countries. It's terrible issues, as you know. Um, our firm was actually founded 6 years ago at the UN in New York on International Women's Day, because we've done a lot around women and all that. But tell us a little bit about your journey as a woman, maybe even as a Ukrainian woman coming in, and what was your feelings? What were your how did you handle situations where women were looked at differently, and how, tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. No, of course, unfortunately, it's not easy. We are doing so much. We are working so much on this equality and access to equal opportunities.
Right.
Still, we have so much work to do, especially when it comes to like financial sector. When anything related to big money, I think it's more challenging for women. No, when I tell people that in Switzerland, everybody says that Switzerland is such a progressive country, and so on and so on. In Switzerland, the last canton that allowed women to vote, it was in 1996. I mean, can you imagine?
Right.
Middle of Europe, 1996.
That's amazing. I didn't know it was that recent, actually. That's amazing. And before 96, they weren't allowed to vote at all?
No, like, because here the system is that every canton, which is like region, like a state in
Right.
US, they have their own system. And so the last state canton that gave women right to vote on their
Amazing.
was in 1996.
Well, you do know the ERA,
Which is like
equal rights amendment in the States is just now getting passed, basically. Even now, I mean, they've been voting, but yeah, it's unbelievable.
yes. And yeah, so like when you think about this, and then the difference in payment also is incredible.
Yeah.
I grew up in an environment where I was raised as you have to be smart, you have to be independent, you have to be able to protect yourself, and you have to value yourself. That's why actually, for me, like this kind of issues didn't exist in my life. But then, yes, you're right. When I moved to Europe, to Switzerland, being a young Ukrainian woman, that was quite challenging
I bet.
because there is a certain stigma that exists, unfortunately, and there is a certain prejudices or opinions, I don't know how to call them, that some people might get. But I always thought that, if one judges another, first of all, if one judges another, that's already not very good.
Exactly.
But if one decides that another person is like this and like that, without knowing the person, without having a conversation, talking, and having zero information, basically, but already makes a conclusion how you are, who you are, this speaks about limited mind of another person.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always tell other women that you should, like, this kind of stuff should not stop you from what you want in life. You have your goals, you have your dreams, and you have to pursue them. And that's, where these female networks, like women networks, are very important. Because I was lucky to be part of this kind of communities. And I was lucky to meet women who also told me these kind of things. And like I had this when I was working in UN. We had this kind of female networks in the office and also outside. So I think that what is important is really to find your community and speak up. You know, if a woman has any challenge, I think we already passed that stage when it's okay to just shut up and go. No, we have to speak about this. And yes, and like I do believe that it doesn't depend on gender or nationality or religion. Some people allow themselves to judge you and some not. And anyway, it should not impact you and it should not impact what you want to do in life.
Yeah, and usually people who judge that quickly are, and again, you can't generalize, are somewhat insecure in their own right, which is why they do judge because of that. And again, this isn't rocket science. We talked about experiences before. The whole point of diversity, women, men, this and that, is to bring different experiences to the table, right? And then that's valuable for life. It's valuable for the business. Again, this isn't rocket science. This is actually pretty simple. And that's why I say it comes from people's insecurity or people's need to control and not lose what power they think they have. And it's fascinating, but I mean, getting there, not fast enough, but getting there.
Absolutely. You know, I had an experience working in, I think actually majority of my professional like time I worked in a male teams mostly. And once I worked in a mission of Afghanistan as a student in a
Mm.
human rights team. And we were, there was a male team and me, for first of all, I'm foreigner and woman. And many people ask me, oh my God, but how it is? Because people have certain ideas, like which not quite often have nothing in common with reality. So that was one of the best professional experience I had,
I
and
bet.
I was treated with such a respect. And we had amazing atmosphere. We had amazing team, and so and yes, I didn't feel for a second that because I'm a woman I am treated differently. I was treated as a colleague, as a professional, but not as a blonde lady, you know.
Well, that's an interesting point, but he's even the color of the hair brings judgment
Yeah, I
too.
mean, I know.
Exactly. It's true. Or no hair brings judgment also. No, it's great that you achieved that. And I think, again, generally, I think most men really do want that. And it's sometimes it comes from education and, all that, how you're brought up and taught and so on and so forth. And as you know, some countries are still way, way behind, even though it's hard to believe Switzerland, US, where they are sometimes, but there's some countries that look at Afghanistan. I mean, the young girls can't even go to school anymore and things like that, which is absolutely outrageous. So they have to sneak sometimes and everything. But it's a long topic, but I'm glad you were able to share some of that. A couple other things. In Los Angeles, we say that you have to leave the audience wanting more so you can do a sequel. We may have to do a sequel to get more into this, but one of the things I wanted to ask you, the fourth industrial revolution has pretty well been decided that it's technology and mostly AI now and VR and AR and all that. But the fifth is about humanity and how it comes together. And we try to bring impact and talent together all the time in what we do. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now and what is Epicenter and what you're doing now with that and the amazing work you're doing in Ukraine. We talked a little bit before about, the people that were killed and the damage that happened in Ukraine, but talk about Epicenter, what you're doing, how you're able to make an economic impact and a social impact at the same time and so on.
Yes, it's a pleasure. That's my favorite book.
Cool.
So, yes, I am working with Epicenter. Epicenter, it's a group of companies based in Ukraine. So Epicenter started like 20 years ago as a DIY store. So something like Walmart, IKEA, Leroy Merlin, Bauhaus, if you put them all together, that's Epicenter. So 20 years ago, it was DIY store. Now it's like a shopping center. But so the idea is shop in shop. But I will not go more in details about the retail part. Epicenter is a hub for, now I say it's a warmth hub, like energy hub, because we have 71 centers around the country in all big cities. Unfortunately, we lost 6 because of the war. But everybody knows that this is a place, because now it's a place where you can come when you need to buy anything you need except fashion. We don't sell fashion, but the rest is there. So you need to build a house, buy ice cream, something for your car, for your home, for your pet, whatever you need is there.
Wow.
Now, I like this analogy. We were growing as the family of our customer was growing, because again, you create a family, you build a house. You build the house, you start a garden, you decorate the house, then you get a kid, then you get a car, then you start a like one by one. That's actually what we are now. We have so everything what you might need in one place. So it's quite a unique concept, to be honest.
It's awesome.
Yes, it does. There is no analog in the world. So welcome to visit when it's safe to visit. And in Epicenter, as I said, we are not just a business. We employ 38,000 people. It's 38,000 families. When the war started, like now people ask me, like, so your management is outside the country, right? I said, no, our management is in the country. I was like, oh, yeah, but you don't work anymore. No, we do work, because, 38,000 families is our big family. We cannot just pack up, close the door and say, okay, guys, see you after. Because we have responsibility in front of our employees. We have responsibility in front of our country. We pay around one of the biggest amount of taxes every year. So we are one of the biggest taxpayers in the country. And, also we build around Epicenter, there's a whole community growing, because we engage a lot in social initiatives. For example, a couple of years ago, we opened a school, like a football school, together with Foundation of Real Madrid, a club for children from disadvantaged families who have no opportunity to do sport. And then also we have Epicenter Sport Club that is also gives opportunity to kids from disadvantaged
That's great.
who participate to do sport, mainly weightlifting. We develop volleyball a lot in the country, and many activities like this. And then, of course, we care not only about health and well-being of people, but also health and well-being of our country and our planet. We have a lot of environment-related initiatives, and actually what I'm doing is sustainability. Now as a company, we did a lot of things, but we never called it, or this is our sustainability strategy. But now we have to call it this way. And so this is my job, actually, work on our sustainability strategy. And as a part of this, we started to invest last year in renewable energy. And we are coming very strongly on solar, because we have more than 1.8 million square meters of retail area. So basically roofs of our shopping malls, warehouses, factories. and the plan is to cover them all with solar panels. Like our humble short-term goal is to install 108 megawatt in 24-25,
Wow.
and we already did something, like we already installed 7.5 megawatt last year, and we keep working on this goal because now what's happening in Ukraine with electricity is devastating. Now sometimes people have electricity only 4 hours per day, and when the power cuts started, we became, well, that's what I said at the beginning, we are like energy hub, because we always welcome our customers to come. They can come, they can charge the phone, laptop, do a Zoom call, homework, whatever you need. Now, so when you walk through the shopping center, and if you see someone sitting on the floor in very weird place, most probably it means that there is a plug and person is charging some devices. So we always welcome everyone. And why, for example, what happened a month ago when our facility in Kharkiv was attacked, it was devastating because it was Saturday afternoon. And we are a place where people, now, unfortunately, there's not so much fun in Ukraine right now. You can't really, not in every city, you can go to the movie or to the park or somewhere else because it's dangerous. And we always try to create that atmosphere so our customers can come and just have a good time. They
Yeah.
don't need something. They don't always come for shopping. They come to eat in a restaurant, or maybe to play in a kid's room, to walk around because it's all like nice and beautiful and fun. And so on weekends, quite often people just come in to spend time I mean, we all like to scroll around the mall from time to time.
Yeah,
So
and
that,
I'm sure, especially there, not for everybody, I'm sure, especially there, I can't
yes,
feel what they feel. It's just a way to escape for a little bit.
yes. And one Saturday afternoon, our shopping center was attacked.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can't prevent, you can't predict, and you can't do anything. Yes, and we lost our employees, we lost customers. I mean, our employees did everything possible to evacuate people, but it's seconds. And yes, that's what we were talking before about certain losses you cannot compensate, unfortunately. So, and in this challenging time, more than ever, we feel this urge to actually keep working, keep developing, keep going forward, because we believe that one day it will be over, and we can do even more than we do now.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, beautifully said. It's almost sad that we think it's unpredictable, but the way it's happening, in a way, it's almost is predictable because he's trying to destroy culture. He's not fighting a war. Normally, he's actually trying to destroy culture, and and the best way to fight that is to not give up, is to keep yourselves going and everything. Yeah, it's an interesting time, and with respect to that time goes by pretty fast as well. Kind of interesting. The pandemic was in 2020, and that seems like yesterday. With everything that you've seen and everything you've experienced and over the last few years, is there something you're most grateful for, and what are you hopeful for?
You know, in these circumstances, I realize that I have lots of things to be grateful for, but in the reality we live today, with everything that happens in the world, with everything that happens in my country, I am grateful every day that I text my parents and they answer my messages.
Right.
And this actually made us remember what is the most important, and the most important things are very simple.
No kidding. 100%. What are you most hopeful for?
I don't like this topic, but that we will light up the whole Ukraine with solar panels. And of course, I mean, we all are hopeful for one thing. There's no need even to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But yes, besides that, I think that yes, the goal, we hope that we can bring light to every house.
No, I mean, it's well said. I'm grateful that you are a leader who cares. Actually, that's what I'm grateful for. You are, and despite everything that's gone on, and I'm also grateful that you're a new friend, which is wonderful also for me. And I get the hopeful part. We always have to hang on to some hope, though, that things get better. Not just hope that it gets better, but be hopeful for it and do something about it. And you are. So thank you for sharing on this series and being a leader who cares. And we'll definitely have to do a sequel.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It really ran like it passed like a minute, and now oh, but I didn't say this and I didn't say that. But anyway, I am really happy, and thank you for inviting me.
Totally my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.